I wanted to talk more about this holster and this particular gun. This is one of my favorite guns that I've owned. So actually one of my first ones, the second gun I ever owned. I've had this gun since around 1978. Now, I finally got a holster for it. Now, I got this holster from a company called Sarco. And this is a reproduction holster for a World War II German holster for the P08 Luger pistol. And I paid $25 for this, and I just thought that was just a tremendous bargain because this is nice. This is you got your nice black leather with the stitching here, with the white stitching, just like the original World War I or World War II hard shell P8 holster that the Germans made for World War I and World War II. Now, if you look at the back of this holster, you'll see that it's actually embossed P8 on this one side, and on this side, you'll actually see stamps of a leather manufacturer, the year 1941, and you'll also see the Nazi eagle holding the swastika, which is, I guess, their symbol for the Wehrmacht, or the German army, I guess. So I'm hoping that my wife can sort of get this, but this is really a nice reproduction of an original World War II holster. Unfortunately, there may be people out there that are buying these for $25 a piece and artificially aging these and selling them for $250 a piece, claiming that they were original 1941 World War II holsters. The one thing that I also thought is strange about this is that the Germans, they use buckles instead of snaps. It takes a longer time to open these the pistols. I guess they didn't really care about taking a long time to get at the pistol, because this is sort of ridiculous here. Now this is what they call a hard shell holster, because it's basically a pretty hard leather covering. The reason why the Germans did this is because the P8 Luger pistol was very susceptible to dirt and grime. It was an early auto pistol. In fact, the Luger was the first auto-loading pistol that was adopted by a major military power, the German Army, in 1908. Now, if you look inside the top here, you got a little container, and this is, I went through this before, this is a what they call a Luger loading tool and a disassembly tool. This has a little screwdriver over here for the grips, so you can take the grips off if you want. But this was made mostly for loading your magazines. The thing is that if you look at a Luger, you'll notice that the grip is at a real steep angle. Now, the reason why George Luger did this when he designed this gun is he wanted the gun to be easy to hold on to, and he wanted this gun to feel like it fit in your hand really well. The problem with that is that at such an angle, you have to make the ammunition feed at an opposite angle from the grip. Now, to do that, you have to have a lot of spring tension in this magazine to feed the ammunition properly. The problem is when you try to put 8 rounds in this magazine, it'll kill your finger if you try to do it like with your thumb. So what they did is they came up with this tool, and this tool would sort of lock onto that little great. It would lock onto the follower button here, and you will be able to pull the follower down, and you would load your rounds into your magazine easier. You can get all 8 rounds into this thing. Now, what I usually did is, before I had this tool, is I would just go by a loading, by where I was shooting, I would go on a bench or something, and I'd put it up on the edge like this, and I would load it that way. But I finally got the tool now. Now, if you look at this tool here, it has a nice little eagle with the swastika on it as well, right over here. I assume that, I don't think this is an original loading tool from World War II. I think this is also a reproduction. I only paid like $10 for it from Sarco. So let's put this back. Now I wanted to talk about this gun a little more. This gun has a hold open, a toggle hold open when you have an empty magazine. It's totally unloaded now. Now I could tell before I even cocked this gun that it was unloaded, because this particular gun, even though adopted in 1908, it has what they call a loaded chamber indicator. If you look at the extractor here, when the extractor rides over a round that's in the chamber, it'll kick up like this, and that'll show you that it's loaded. And if you look on the side here, you'll actually see a word that says geladen, which means loaded. Here it is. Now you see that? It says geladen. And as long as that's up and you can read that geladen, you know that there's a round loaded in the chamber. And that's pretty amazing for a gun this old that had something like that. This is a feature they're putting on guns right nowadays. The other thing about this gun is it's a striker fired gun, just like your Glocks that some of you people love so much. This gun is fired from a striker. Anyway, I love doing that. That's the only gun that I can think of where you can do that to the toggle like that, because this is the only toggle action gun. I just love doing that. I love doing that. Anyway, it's funny, when this gun came out 3 years later, the 1911, this gun was obsolete after being in service for like 3 years. This gun made this gun totally obsolete. But the Germans stuck with this gun until 1938. And I got to tell you, some of the reasons why this gun is so popular is, like I said, you look at the grip on this gun, and it's like, when you grab this gun and hold on to it, it's like it's a part of your hand. It just points perfect. Much nicer than this monster here. If you look at these two guns, this gun is a boxer, all power. This is a ballerina. This gun is dead sexy. And just look at the grip and this tapered barrel and this toggle action. That's sexy. The problem is that this gun does have some problems. This particular one here actually shoots pretty well. Now I want to talk about this gun a little bit. This particular gun is what they call a Imperial Luger. This was made, if you look at the toggle up here, let me see here. This was made in at the government armaments manufacturing area in Erfurt, Germany. It was made in 1918, the last year of the war. Because it was made during World War I, it's called an Imperial Luger. Because back then, Germany was an imperial power. It was a monarchy. Okay? Now, this particular gun was very difficult to assemble. It took a lot of machining and hand fitting for each one of these guns. So most of the main parts are actually serial numbered along with the guns. Every major part on this gun has the last two digits of the serial number. So whenever someone tells you my gun is all matching or it's not matching, a Luger with matching parts means that every one of the major parts assemblies that's stamped with the two-digit serial number match the serial number of the original gun. This particular gun is all matching except for the grips and the magazine. These guns originally came with two magazines that actually were numbered to the gun. They had the same two digits as the gun themselves, and the original grips also had the two digits inside when you took the grips off. Amazing. The only other things that I have put on this gun is I've replaced all of the coil springs in it, because these coil springs are over 100 years old now. And by the way, this gun is older than me. I love that. Anyway, so the thing about this gun that like I said, it's dead sexy, and you could take a gun to a range, and there are people who've never had a gun before, and they'll look at this and says, what the hell is this? They won't know this is a 1911. But a person who's never had a gun before in their life, they'll look at this. You pull this out, they'll look at it. Oh, what a nice Luger that is. This is like an iconic gun. This particular pistol was actually replaced in 1938 with the Walther P08, which was a much nicer pistol. It was much nicer than this gun. But I got to say, when you shoot this gun, it's like it's a nice shooting gun. It's got a mushy trigger. The sights are not that great, but it points just perfectly, and it's a great shooting gun. And like I said, it's dead sexy. In World War II, and actually World War I and World War II, an American soldier, the greatest souvenir that an American soldier could get in World War I or World War II was one of these to bring home as a trophy. They didn't care about the P38s. They wanted a Luger. And most of the Lugers were carried by officers because they just preferred the Luger because, like I said, it's dead sexy. So I hope you enjoyed this little talk I had, and that's about all I have to say. Thank you very much.